So check this out. I had COVID straight out of the gate.
Yeah.
Day one.
You started in COVID.
That lasted 2 years, right? And you're thinking, okay, this is going to end. COVID is ending. Yes, let's go. Now you got a cost of living crisis.
Wow.
Like, how can you budget for that? How do you put money aside and say, I'm going to open a business, but there's going to be a pandemic. And then after the pandemic, there's going to be the worst economic crisis in the last decade where people can't even pay their rent. So how do you budget for that and prepare for that?
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Black Wealth Connect. I am your host Fabrice Ominko, and today we have a very, very special guest, somebody that I've been looking forward to interviewing for a very long time because I've heard so much about this brother and all the achievements that he's been able to, to gain for a very short period of time that he has been in Australia from what I hear, but we're definitely going to hear it from himself. Just to give you a bit of an introduction about him. So he's launched Little Lagos Bistro and Bar with the intentions of bringing West African music, food, fashion, art, and culture to Australia. A nomad that's lived in 5 different cities around the world, which is pretty impressive, and has also been named by Hospitality Magazine as one of hospitality's 50 game changers in 2021, a young entrepreneur of the year in 2020 by Business News Australia. So it's endless with the amount of achievements this guy has been able to gain. So without any further ado, I would love to introduce Ade. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. It's always weird hearing about yourself, isn't it? Sometimes you take a moment and you go, yeah, that really did happen.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for being on this episode. I think there's a lot of emotion behind this story because you put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this, which we're going to get into. But yeah, like I said, thank you very much. And let's get into it, man. So Ade, you are originally from
Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria. Awesome. And just tell me a little bit about your upbringing, man. Just where you come from, how your family dynamic is, and a lot of
big family. Yeah, Pop's got 4 wives. Yeah. Nigerians can relate. A lot of sisters. Yeah, for 4 sisters. A lot of cousins around the house. Dad was the eldest in his little clan, so his house was kind of like, the village square, you could call it. That's where everything happened. We're Muslim family as well, so Eid, big Eid, small Eid. We celebrated Christmas, funny, because my mom's Christian, so there was always a party happening in the house. It was always in this queues for 60, 80 people just to come and gather around. And I think that's where my sense of community comes from. I've always been surrounded by people, always surrounded by family, close and extended family.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. And so when you say, like, obviously that big family dynamic, so in terms of just the upbringing, so what did you really focus on? I mean, was all your education in Lagos, or like what was
we moved around a lot. Lagos, we lived in Lagos, we lived in Dubai, we lived in the UK, Southeast London, Lewisham, before gentrification. And I went to school in Romania.
What?
Yeah, it's wild. But my dad moved around a lot too.
Okay.
I think he was a bit restless. Yeah. And he was one of those people that just like to check things out. Okay. Because when we went to Dubai, it was, I think, late 90s. People didn't even know where Dubai was on the map. And look at Dubai today. Yeah, so he kind of always wanted to go, like, check things out. He never came to Australia, though.
Oh, he never said? That's interesting. I know everybody does say it's too far. But I mean, in terms of, like, just the whole moving around, that would have been quite difficult, obviously, in terms of, like, the family, because it's almost like you're having to restart.
Every single time.
Yeah,
I have no childhood friends. That's one of the consequences. So, like how people will go, that's my childhood friend, grew up together, I've known them 20, 30 years. I don't have, because almost every 10 years we would move. And then you lose contact. There wasn't Instagram back then or Facebook where you could add each other. So once you're gone, you're gone. And then you might discover each other like years, and everyone's moved on. So it's one of the like consequences of moving around a lot. It's like you have to rebuild your friendship, your circle every time you get to a new place.
How was that for language? Like in terms of, because obviously coming from Lagos, what's the main?
English, Pidgin. You would have to speak Pidgin to survive.
Okay.
But Lagos is I talked about this the other day, and I was on another podcast. It's a melting point, right? There's every single tribe there, which is why everyone speaks Pidgin. Okay. We do speak English as well. English is actually the official language, but it's also like, I love speaking Pidgin. Okay. If I can't, if I have to speak, if I meet a Nigerian, I start with Pidgin.
Yeah, you start with Pidgin.
Yeah, if they don't speak Pidgin, then I'll switch it to English. Yeah. I get tired speaking to a Nigerian in English.
Really?
Yeah, it's not my language. Okay. Like, after, because the jokes are not the same. Innuendos, it's just smooth when you're in Pidgin. Well, I'll just speak Yoruba because that's my ethnic, my mother tongue.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Now that's awesome. And so Lagos, then you went to, was it Dubai after that? Okay. And how was your time in Dubai? Because obviously Dubai, it is very multicultural. I have been there before, and there's a lot of, you can get away with speaking English in Dubai easily. Yeah. But what was your experience like? It was
different
Dubai?
Back then. We were there before it blew up, like before it went to what it is now.
So there was no Burj Khalifa? There was
no, absolutely no Burj Khalifa. No, Burj Al Arab was being built. I remember back then we used to go play, I'm going to say soccer, so people understand, but it's football. Soccer.
Don't start this war. Anthony. Go on, man. It can go left real quick.
We used to go play soccer at a patch of land around that area. We saw something was being built. But yeah, I loved Dubai because when we were there, it was a small Nigerian community. And it was beautiful. Like, everyone looked out for everyone. Every Friday, because Friday is the weekend there. Yeah. Friday is the Sunday. So every Friday we'll always end up at someone's house, just cooking. I think because it's a small community, everyone was just really like, let's build together. And it was really, really, really good. So a lot of uncles, people I call my uncle and aunt, they're not related to me, but that's where that relationship developed. And it just went on forever.
That's amazing. So where do you feel like, out of all the places that you've lived in the world, where do you feel like is home the most? Because there's a difference,
That's hard. That's very hard. London will come closest because most of my family is in London.
Okay.
And with London, you're in Nigeria. You're in Lagos.
Yeah, you're in Lagos.
You're in Lagos with the only thing that reminds you is the big red bus.
Yeah.
And maybe once in a while you hear a British accent and you'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm not.
That's cheating, actually, because the reason why I'm saying it's cheating, because it's almost like you are in Nigeria, but you're just not physically in Nigeria.
There's nothing you want that you can't find in London.
In London, okay.
When I say nothing, I mean you want fresh snails, you want fresh bread, you want like the most traditional dish.
Yeah.
Just go to Plumstead, go to Peckham, go to Hackney. Like it's insane. It's insane. Like, so you never feel like you're missing anything.
Do you know why London became almost like the hub of Nigeria?
Yeah, I think it's just from colonialism. They came there and they were like, well, we're coming there too. You know what I mean? And London is quite accepting too. It's a very accepting city. Yeah. You can bring whatever you want into there. And people are like, yeah, okay. So there's a massive Nigerian community, as you know. And I think everyone just continued living their life. They integrate, but they hold on to their culture. And that's the beautiful thing about London. Like in other countries, they want you to integrate and let go of your culture, like you're one of us now. But in London, it's like, integrate. Like, you would find kids that speak with a fluent British accent, and then they go home and they're eating pounded yam, egusi with their hands, sweating, they're singlet, and you're like, this kid looks like he's in Lagos. You know what I mean? So I think that was the thing about it that made it feel like home.
Now that's beautiful. Yeah, no, that's, and that's understandable, right? Because wherever you feel like more of your community is, it's almost like you feel like
100%. I tell people all the time, most of my family is there.
Yeah.
There's streets in Thamesmead where half of the houses are my family. And I mean my family,
not just like Africans. I would say everyone's our cousin.
Actual family, like Adetokunboh, they're literally on one side of the street. So you can't really miss home too much when you're there.
How long were you in London for?
I think on and off 10 years.
Wow, man. Your story is amazing. So you are really like, I mean, you've moved around a lot.
Pretty restless.
Yeah. Okay. So through all of that, you've gone through multiple countries because of your dad. Your dad was somebody that liked to move around a lot, which is not always, look, I get it, but I think the mentality of being able to move around and getting to know people's different cultures is not a bad thing.
It's not.
But it's just when you do have a family, it kind of does become a bit hard,
Yeah.
But so with all the countries that you've been in, what end up bringing you to Australia? Because Australia is quite far from all these places, and you look like from your face, you're like, man, you regret that flight, man.
Story so many times. I'm like, look. It wasn't planned. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it just happened. It wasn't really planned. Yeah, I was supposed
So
to
did you just end up in a suitcase, or when you say it wasn't planned, like what was that? Yeah, spin the globe.
Yeah.
No. But on a serious note, like how did you end up here?
I was supposed to move to Canada.
Okay.
My sister lives there, and then I was doing the whole PR process, and then the lawyer there, was like, "Hey, why don't I throw in Australia for the same price?" And I was like, no. He's like, you're not going to pay for it. And if you get Australian PR, you can go. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not going. He's like, well, it doesn't make any difference. Anyway, did it. And the Australian PR came up in like 3 months. So he's like, just go and check it out. Like, you can't. And then he was explaining to me, he's like, Australia is like Canada in terms of like standard of living. That's true. Beautiful country. He's like, it's the same country. Yeah. It's just one is quite cold and the other is not. Yeah. That was how he sold it.
Okay. Yeah, the weather.
The weather. Yeah. I don't mind the cold, but it was like, it's not freezing. It's not sub-zero. So I came in and I was like, yeah, I'm going to check it out. And I thought Australia was very white, because I've never been here. All the Australians I've met were like white, except for like a few, like my friend Michelle and Sylvia. They were people of color, but everyone else was white. Okay. But when I got in, I was like, oh, no, it's pretty much
quite multicultural.
Yeah. From the airport, you land. And then even like immigration, I remember seeing like the border force, and it was like very different.
Very multicultural. I was
like,
okay. you're like, I'm hungry.
I was like, yeah, I can relate to this.
Okay. No, I could imagine. And you know what? I think that you have every right to feel like that. I don't think that's a bad thing, because if I was in your situation, I would also feel like Australia is very white too, but
from the TV shows,
and Home and Away, and all these, and what's the big one that everybody, Neighbours?
Neighbours, yes.
Neighbours is like
it's been running forever.
Yeah, it's been running forever. So now I could imagine that. So okay, so you end up coming to Australia, and then from the first time you hit the airport, you look around, you feel like, okay, you know what, maybe I could kind of end up being here. It doesn't. So from there, where did you go from there? Did you arrive in Sydney, or where did you?
I did. Okay. I went straight to Darlinghurst.
Oh, Darlinghurst, So why Darlinghurst? Did you have a friend there, or
no?
You just kind of just.
My other friend Nika, she helped me to book like an Airbnb.
Wow, so you really came with nothing.
I had no idea where I was. I booked the Airbnb, and then I was staying with a guy called Reed. He was a very nice guy, Kiwi guy, very lovely guy. And then we were just like chilling. I was in the middle of the city. And then I remember I locked myself out of the apartment. And I was like, I'll just call a locksmith. Called a locksmith. It was like $350. I was like, what? That was my first introduction to Australia. And it was like, Sunday nights, right?
Yes.
I was like, Sunday what? It was like, yeah, call out fee. I was like, what? I'm like, you just opened the door. I'm not paying you $350. Like,
oh, God.
Oh, wow, okay, this is how it's going to be. So I stayed in Darlinghurst, and then I stayed in Liverpool.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked Liverpool.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Bad,
and then I moved to Parramatta. Like Para as well. So just kind of like finding myself.
Finding yourself. Okay.
Whenever I stayed in Sydney.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So then when you, obviously your experience coming to Australia, it's funny, locksmith, etc. So after all of that, so what was your first role here? Because in terms of like job. What did you?
I went straight to work immediately.
Okay.
I think that was one of the other positive things about Australia. It was like I interviewed for a job, I got a job.
You got a good job straight away. Yep. Yeah.
I worked for Westpac, great company. I was there the whole 6 years.
What were you doing
Yeah, I was looking at the claims because I've got a medical background, so I was like, yeah, and I liked it. I felt like it was good company, and you meet people at work as well. I made a lot of friends at work, so that started to make me feel like,
you started to feel almost
started to feel a bit more like, okay, yeah, I can stay here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's interesting. And no, I didn't know that you actually had an experience in the banking in the Westpac and all that. Okay, cool. Awesome. So obviously after Westpac, moving forward, now we are in your very famous restaurant, and just hearing your journey from where you started up until now. I mean, let's really get into it. Let's switch gears. You've managed to open up one of the most successful, if not the most successful African restaurant in Australia. Just to give you a bit about my background, I was living in Sydney for almost all my life, and I've been living in Melbourne for the last 5 years. And growing up in Sydney, we didn't have too many African restaurants, that we could go to. I lived more towards like the Parramatta areas myself, and like you would see some every once in a while, but it's not common. So hospitality itself, hearing your story, where did this come from? Have you always been somebody of food? Like, have you just loved food? Did your parents do your hospitality? Like, where did this come from?
I love to cook.
Ladies would love you. Adil was the main chef.
Yeah, love to cook.
Okay.
And when I lived in Dubai, during Ramadan, I used to make iftar, me and my friend Mohammed. So we would prepare iftar.
Yep.
And then people will come through, and then they'll eat and just hang out with us. We spend like hours cooking.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was just a way of sharing, just sharing time, energy with people. So yeah, definitely always loved that. Also always wanted to have a venue at some point in my life. I didn't know what it would look like, but I know food would be involved. There'll be music. So that's also been part of, like, you could call it like a dream. Like I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have like your own venue, at some point. But it wasn't anything like an immediate project. Like,
okay.
I'm coming to Sydney to do this.
To do that.
Particularly.
It was just something in the back of your head one day.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, one day.
Yeah. Okay, and then so you cooking with Muhammad and, you guys doing all that, but like what type of food were you guys cooking?
Nigerian food. Nigerian. Yeah, so I can make everything except moi moi. I don't know why. I think I just can't be bothered with the time it takes. Okay. So we would just split it up. I'd be like, all right, I'm making fish, jollof. What are you making? And then we just make like 8-9 different types of food.
And that's like after the whole fast.
That's after the whole fast. And it was fun. We loved it. We just loved it. And then people would just show up, whether they were fasting or not. And it became a thing. Yeah, like every Ramadan, people are like, all right, we know, the next 30 days or 28 days, whatever, we're having dinner at this place. Oh, beautiful. And then they'll come, they'll hang out after. So it was always like a nice vibe. We'll talk, we'll play games. And then people just go home, come back the next day, and then we just always switch up the menu. So it always been there. And then when I came here, I think I definitely was craving a place to just come in, eat, chill, hang out, meet people. When you're new, you want to meet other people from the community.
Got you.
And that's one of the first things I struggled with. There was no place to meet like Black people or Nigerian people.
Okay. Yeah.
Except you went clubbing. Right? You'll have to go to an event or a club, and then you're in an event, people are drinking, they're drunk, you're trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
It just goes left.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is a bit, not odd, but I was just like, where do Black people hang out here? Do we have any clubs? Do we have a community club? Yeah. Do we have a hall? Do we have anything where we just go and chill on a Sunday?
I love you say that, because that's something that we've been talking about for many years. Like even within the African community in Sydney, it's always been a topic.
Yeah.
So when you came here, you experienced that. It was almost like a sense of loneliness, like, where can I actually meet my community? How can I connect with them? Yeah. So is it fair to say that the stuff that you were doing in Dubai and bringing people together, you and Muhammad, and cooking, and you saw what that did for the community in Dubai and the African community being able to come together, did you feel like that was a way for people to also, like for you to start something here and that would also create the same type of impact? Like bringing people together?
Absolutely. Because I'll tell you one thing about Black people. Wherever we see each other, we smile. Yeah. We nod. We acknowledge on the train. And then that brother goes on his way or that sister goes on their way and then you might never see them again. So we already have it. You know, we have this natural love for each other, you know, to see each other, to acknowledge each other. We just didn't have a space to talk to each other. Like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I got a podcast. Hey, I'm doing this. I should get on your podcast. Yeah, you should. So there was no way like for that connection to ever happen. And I think that was the big thing for me. And it wasn't like a savior complex or anything. You know, there was probably a selfish interest in it as well. Like I want to meet people too. And I want a space where other people can sort of like meet people.
Did you feel like a lot of the places that you've lived around the world had that already for Black people?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this, you can't use London as an example. It's not fair.
Yeah,
London is just next level, right? But Dubai had that. Absolutely. Yeah. Dubai absolutely had that. We had like, my aunt had a restaurant in like the heart of Dubai, like the old part. And you could go there. We used to go there on Friday evenings. And then people would just be there. And then you just start talking to people, just start making fun. Oh, what does this guy do? And sometimes you leave there, you're exchanging numbers with some person that you just met. Next minute, you're linking up with them. You're playing soccer with them. We formed the whole football team just from going to eat. So everywhere else had that. And I felt like Sydney just didn't have that.
What do you feel? Because I love you say all this stuff because we're definitely going to get into like, more into like Little Lagos and what your plan is for the future when it comes to this stuff. But what did you feel like when you came to Sydney? What was I know we talk about like obviously there's no way for people to meet, but what did you feel it was like when you actually met people here? Did you feel like there was a sense of people not wanting to connect with other people? What did you feel?
The city's too big.
The city's too big. Okay.
Yeah, it's massive. Okay. Someone lives in Mount Druitt and you live in Petersham. Where are you gonna meet? I'm not driving 15 minutes just to hang out with you. Then I gotta come back home or get on the train for 2 hours. It's a massive city and it's sprawling. You know what I mean? So I work in the city, you work in North Sydney. You live in Parramatta, I live in Canterbury. Our paths are never gonna cross. Ever.
I love, you know what, every time you say something, you're dropping a gem because it's like, even growing up here, every once in a while, you will see someone and you're like, wow, I've never seen you before. Like, and they're like, oh,
I grew up here.
I grew up here. And it's just like, huh? How come I've never seen you out? Or sometimes you'll see them in the city and then you'll just never see them again, ever. And then one day you will travel overseas and you bump into them. So it's just, I think what you're trying to say and what you have said, explained very well. It's very true. I think the city itself is just massive.
Much. Too big, yeah.
Oh wow, okay, awesome. So now you've been able to create this. Let's dive into that whole business of Little Lagos because I get where you've come from now when you said you needed a place of community, you wanted to bring people together. So walk me through like your first day. Like, I mean, how did you come up with the name? How did you?
It was
what the hell?
You gotta keep it original. I'm obsessed with originality. I'm obsessed with authenticity. I don't copy anything. I only do what comes natural to me, what I know. Okay. Lagos is my life. I was born and raised. That's literally everything to me. So if I'm going to open a venue, I wanted to remind people of my home. Our tagline is "Come Home," and it wasn't created by some marketing genius or anything. It's as literal as it can be. Yeah. You need to walk in here and be like, this feels like Lagos. This feels like Yaba or Ikeja or Lekki, the language, the music, the vibe, the people, the food. Everything needs to take you back to Lagos. If you haven't been, it needs to make you want to go and say, oh, this is how you guys get down in Lagos? Yeah, I want to check it out. So that's always been the story. And Little Lagos was not really supposed to be a restaurant. If you look again, there's no restaurant. You know how people go like something African restaurant, something Nigerian restaurant. It's not. It's supposed to be a destination. It's supposed to be. Do you know the place called Grounds of Alexandria?
I know Grounds.
That's right. Yeah. So that's the concept. similar to that. It's like you go in there, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, listen to music, check out some merch, network. There's a party after. That's what it was supposed to be. COVID actually changed things a little bit, because when we opened, we were supposed to have this massive party where people just come in. It's food, but it's just like a community. You could call it community center. Yeah. But obviously, when we were opening right with COVID, we couldn't open up. You know, it was takeaway only. So we actually had to push food, which was one of the products. It wasn't the only product, but it was the only product we could push at that time. Okay. And the dream is still to have a destination, a venue where you walk in and you feel like I'm in Lagos. I don't want to eat. I just want to have some drinks. Yeah, that's fine to sit and have some drinks. I just want to listen to music. Oh, there's a band playing. Okay, I just came to watch the band. I'm not even hungry. After church, I don't feel like cooking. I'm just going to bring my family and we're going to have some authentic Nigerian dishes. So that's the concept behind Little Lagos. And that's why it's called Little Lagos. It's literally supposed to remind you of Lagos in Nigeria. So that's always been the idea behind it. When we opened, I just realized how badly the city needed it, because people were just like, finally I can leave work and come somewhere before I go home. Finally, I can tell my work colleagues, have you had Nigerian food? No, I'm not cooking because I'm tired, but I'll take you to a place where they're proud to walk in. They're like proud to show this place off. I got colleagues bragging about Little Lagos at work. Like, nah, you think that? Nah, I'll take you to a spot. So that's what the whole plan was. And it's always been like that.
I love how you say that people coming here, you try to create a sense of Lagos and how it actually feels like being in the environment that you grew up in for a small period of time, of course. So that come home, we'll call it a slogan.
Yeah.
It's amazing because, so when you say that, do you feel like, even just in terms of like the way you wanted to design the interior, from the chefs, the look of things, is this kind of the same vibe of a place that you've been in back home? Is that what you were trying to build here?
Absolutely. The curtains, you know, I don't know how it was here growing up. Well, back home, the curtains were like a big statement, you know, of every home. And I remember you'd catch a beating, like if you like touched the curtains or like, or like you pulled it or something, on the couch, again, you know, relaxed. You can sit for hours. The bar, a lot of the drinks with the ingredients from back home. You know, Zobo, Ghanaians call it Zobolo. I've got palm wine. So yeah, and the food. I think the food aspect is the home aspect, because a lot of your memories from childhood is always like that food. You know, you can smell it. You come home. And if your mom cooked good, your friends wanted to come to your house after school, right? It's kind of like stay back a little bit till it's dinner time.
They're trying to pretend like they
I was like, we've done our homework already. Why are you still here, bro? You need to go home.
Oh, that's funny.
So those are the elements that we wanted to capture. And Sandra Jitinji, I reached out to her. My friend Toby Arobusoe passed Sandra on to me, going, oh, you should check out this girl. So I reached out to her. I was like, this is what I'm trying to do. Sent her like a little brief, and she came back with all the elements, and she did the whole interior design. And at the pop-up in Melbourne, I was teasing her because she's big time now. I was like, don't forget where you started. And she's like, Little Lagos made me. Yeah, so she did the whole design, and she's gone on to do amazing things. But she just understood the concept. Yeah, she's Kenyan background, and I didn't have to explain much.
Beautiful. Okay, so she's going on and did like more
stuff. Yeah.
What's her name?
Sandra Jitinji.
Okay, beautiful. Shout out to Sandra. Yeah. We'll definitely try and reach out to her, because she's doing amazing things for the community. That's awesome. All right, so now, wow, so we get it, you know, I love it, you know, how you've tried to create this sense of community. I think your story is very touching, and, you know, I think living in Sydney or growing up in Sydney for a long period of time, that's something that we've always tried to figure out. And I think if I look at the bigger picture, it always had to come from someone that literally just came from abroad and said, you know what, no, I need to create something right now because I can't see my brothers and sisters around. Where, you know, we almost took it for granted because we would see Africans, but I think we just got it. It became normal for us just to see 1 or 2 Africans every once in a while. We were satisfied, you know, which is not a good thing. So now, awesome. So moving forward, so now you've created, okay, so Little Lagos. So just going back to the business side of things, when you started planning things. So when did you get to the point where you're just like, you know what, I'm going to do this, like, you know, because people don't realize that it's a risk at that level. You know, you plan it and then it's like execution. So where did you say, you know what, nah, I'm doing this. Let's get the things going. Searching for venues and things.
That's a great question because I wanted to do with other people initially. Okay. And I tell this story in private because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but the original idea was to get a few people together. Because one thing, again, you have to remember about being from Lagos, Nigeria is a massive country. So when you say Lagos, people get it. They're like, yeah, Lagos. But at the same time, it's like, well, there's other parts of Nigeria or West Africa that you could kind of like incorporate. So it was initially, let's get a few of us together. I actually wanted to do an Afro-Caribbean spot. True story. Yeah. And I was like, yo, imagine like a Afro-Caribbean spot with like curry goat stew, jollof fries, rice and peas. They do plantains as well. And just kind of like Friday night is dancehall night, Saturday night is Afrobeat night in the same venue, right? So that was the original idea. But I was like, and it will cover a lot of cultures because Afro-Caribbean culture is quite similar as well. And then the point where it got to, I'm going to do this is kind of reaching out to people. And I suppose in hindsight, people probably didn't know me. They're just like, who's this guy? Like, you just come out of nowhere. You're telling us to come into business with you. So I think that was what happened. And I just had to back myself, like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I suppose that's the point where you get to in business and talk the talk. But at some point, you just got to like, you got to do it. Because, you could have the best business plan in the world and people can look at it and be like, yeah, nah, I'm good. And then what are you going to do? Just be in it or like proceed with it?
That's excellent. You say that, because that's why I always say there's 2 different type of people. You know, there's people that can talk, and there's people that actually do it. You know, and it takes a whole lot of resilience, and it takes a different type of person to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love even just. This is why I'm so inspired by the stuff that you've done, because a lot of people have talked to me about this stuff. Like even just what I've done, like, you know, I said to myself, look, we're going to go and acknowledge all the boys from Sound of Afrobeats and all this, you know, we definitely did talk about that. But I just love, because you would have seen from talking to them that they don't just talk, you know, they want things done.
That's exactly the fact. There's people that I'm now, they don't know this probably. I tell them when I see them, but I actually look up to. They inspire me every single day with everything they do. And whenever I see them, I tell them like, yo, I love you. I love what you're doing, because you don't realize that you're doing this for a lot of other people that are looking at you going, yes. So absolutely right. Like, you will meet people that you have a meeting with them on Monday, and on Tuesday, they're like, let's go. Yeah, like my boy Adams is like that. We met him in Melbourne.
Okay. Tall guy?
Tall guy. Tall guy. Yeah. Giant guy. You talk to Adams today. Yeah. By the next day, he's got a little pitch ready. And it's like, so when are we going to? So even if you were trying to like stall, he's like, I'm ready. Like, you know what I mean? So there are a few people like that. And when you meet them, you just kind of like pull them into your orbit, because you all kind of like feed off each other like
100%. And I feel like, you know, either like there's always going to be a time where people cross paths, you know. So you're Adam, you know, because you know he's a go-getter and he does that, there's going to be some time that you might need him for something, and you know that he's going to be his
100%
his A game, and you need this is the community that we need to build.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's about people that can get things done. I don't like people just talking. Personally, for me, like, it's just not something. It's not my caliber, you know. And I think just over time, like even when we organized this, I love like how you literally said, yeah, Fabrice, let's do it. And you know, I love people like that, because I'll always show up for people like that. I won't waste people's time. I'll get the job done and we just move on, you know what I mean? And we can find other business and connect later on again, you know what I mean? So I love that. So Nat, so just quickly going back, and we will move forward. So I love that you're an executor. You said I'm going to do this. So just walk through, because there's going to be people that are going to listen to this podcast and wonder, like, look, Ade's done this. How was his first day? Looking for a venue, looking for staff, looking for the real business side of things, because it's easy for you to say, I'm doing it, but now to actually gather, network, find the right people, and remembering you weren't raised here. So it's almost like you have to build trust with people that you don't even know. Like, this girl might come up to you and say, oh, I can do the kitchen, but you've never known her. Like,
100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how was that process like?
Yeah, trial and error.
Trial and error.
Yeah, that you just, I can't tell you how many
different
fake CVs I've got. Like, I've had CVs on. I don't drink alcohol. Yeah. I know brands. I know a lot about it because I've worked in hospitality. I've run nightclubs, so I know, but I don't drink it. Okay. So I'm telling you, make me a cocktail with these ingredients, and you telling me, yeah, I used to do cocktails like, oh, they called me the cocktail king. Meanwhile, you don't even know what a tequila bottle is. Like, I've had the craziest things, man. It's trial and error. Yeah. Finance is a massive one. People don't like to talk about money. Black people hate talking about money. Talk about it. Yeah. So how much money do you have? Yeah. You know, Little Lagos was between 200 to 250K, yeah. Self-funded. Like, maybe you're gonna lose everything. Maybe you won't. But you have to try. And finding investment, talking to people that have money. This is what I'm trying to do. This is my business plan. This is the projections. There's nothing wrong talking about money. And I think, me personally, when I was ready to do it, I just started, and I knew I would fail in some areas. I was prepared to. I made mistakes. I bought kitchen equipment through Silver Chef on a rent to lease to buy contract. Came back and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? One of my dreams was to have surround sound. And I spent thousands of money getting like surround speakers, got everything together, didn't collect bond from people when they rented the space. Somebody rented it. Because again, it's a community space, right? I don't want to be offering the same terms that they would get if they walk to a pub. But you're running a business. Someone came and blew the speakers, 15 grand. That's why the speakers are no longer there if you guys look around. And I was just like, what am I going to do? So trial and error. And the biggest one is just having some really reliable, dependable people in your circle, what we talked about earlier, like doers. You know, I've had people that just dedicated, they're ready to go. They will deliver every single time. They might work here, but they treat the business like they own it. Beautiful. Like, they will say my venue. So I use we a lot. People always go, oh, do you have business partners? I'm like, no, I mean my team. I mean my people. We're all in this together. So that would be my thing for anyone wanting to start a business. Get your money right. Because that's just the way business is. It's this hole that just keeps taking money from you until some point, maybe he'll start giving you money back. Yeah. So check this out. I had COVID straight out of the gate. Yeah. Day one.
You started.
Yeah, that lasted 2 years, right? And you're thinking, okay, this is going to end. COVID is ending. Yes, let's go. Now you got a cost of living crisis. Wow. Like, how can you budget for that? How do you put money aside and say, I'm going to open a business, but there's going to be a pandemic. And then after the pandemic, it's going to be the worst economic crisis in the last decade where people can't even pay their rent. So how do you budget for that and prepare for that? You can't. You can't. And you know, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, you can hang it up and say, look, I've done everything I can. It was great while it lasted, and walk away from it with your dignity and with your legacy. Because if we close tomorrow, it will be sad, but people will still be like, that was a brand that we were so proud to have. You know what I mean? And that's how you build, in my opinion, a business. So you just have to let go of your fears, doubt, and just jump into it. Yeah.
I want to just two things, going back to the finance thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that in our community we don't talk about a lot. Yeah. That's something that is very crucial to starting any business. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Like, you could be starting, whether it's a hospitality business, or you're starting a hairdressing business. It doesn't matter what it is, right? That is one of the key fundamentals to anything, because that's almost like make or break.
Right.
You know, so So I really want you to elaborate more about that. So did you have financial education before you started, or did you just go? Did you just kind of wing it? Like, what did you? Yeah, talk to me about that.
I
Man.
read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
I feel like I should have read that book when I was 16. If I had, I'm a Nigerian kid, and you can relate to this. Nigerians and Ghanaians, education is everything. They don't teach us about money. You go, you become a doctor.
Africa in general. Africa in general.
What's money? So no, didn't really have that. It was more, there's budgeting, there's forecast. Also what really helped was I did a pop-up for 2-3 years before I opened. Right? So I already knew the numbers. I knew the cost of rice, the cost of gold, cost of wages, and I could kind of project like, all right, this is how much people are spending on a box of food at a music festival. If they're sitting down with a nice cocktail with a girl or their guy, how much more would they be willing to spend to get a full experience? So those things definitely help. I love pop-ups, and that's what I did in Melbourne. I don't just dive into market. I will do a pop-up for months or years, just kind of sussing out the mood of the city, the mood of the people, and also you can tell what's popular. There's some dishes I used to do at a pop-up that I never do anymore, right? So we used to do turkey, marinated and roasted turkey, which I thought was going to go off. And people didn't like it. Oh, wow. It's like chicken.
Yeah, chicken.
Chicken is the most boring dish in the world. So I think that's with the finance, yes, you can kind of, say you're a hairdresser. Before you open a salon, maybe just convert your car space into like a little shop, or do it out of the room.
You can test it,
and do it for a whole year and see, build the brand and see how much are you really making. Is it really worth all the expenses? Are customers coming? Are you getting good reviews? Do you think when you go and open a shop, people will actually come? So I think testing the market can help you with your finances as well.
Beautiful. And you say the pop-up stuff, because when you say pop-up, so the pop-up stuff really, the pop-up stores really helped you with, as you mentioned, like trial and error, like trying different dishes, seeing if it's going to work, so it's almost like, did you do the pop-ups prior to you actually opening up so that really helped you in the terms of like, let me see if the community are going to connect with this.
100%.
That's really
and
cool.
The wider audience, again, shout out to DJ Classic. He took us to one day festival. This was in 2019 or 2018, which is like, at that time, I didn't even know what one day was. It was a massive festival.
Oh, you went to one day?
We did one day. And we did one days.
That's in Marrickville, yeah?
That's right, Marrickville.
Yeah, I used to go.
Yeah,
so you
we did that festival. Classic cooked it up. The boys are like my best friends now. They're literally down the road, and like Nick and all of the gang. And he was like, you should do this festival. And I was like, bet. And then we pulled up with a bain marie and everything, sweating, cooking, and we were smashing it. And I was like, yeah, this is good. So it was a lot of pop-ups, in different pockets, different markets. We did eastern suburbs, we did western Sydney. We just went everywhere. And everywhere we went to, we kind of got an expectation of this is what it would be like if we actually had a store. So then people are asking us, well, when are you opening up a store?
That is a gem. That is unbelievable. So you really put it, and I think, man, that is actually really good, because when I think about it, you can really apply that same theory to any type of business. Any type of business. Even events.
You can start house parties. Literally just doing house parties. And then you can move from a house party to a small venue. And then from a small venue to a bigger venue. And then a bigger venue to a festival or whatever. Same thing. We said hairdressing. Eyebrows, lashes. Just start in your room. Start in your house. Do it for years. Doesn't matter. And then when you feel like it's time, you would know as well. When you start getting booked out, we used to sell out the pop-ups. Like we would come with crates of food and we would still sell out. So we knew that, it's time to get a bigger place.
No, that's awesome. All right. So with the just quickly with the finance thing. So when you did get, so obviously over time you did the pop-ups and everything like that. So when do you feel, like how long do you feel it took you to kind of wrap your head around like forecasting and all the financial things? Because people might want to, and if you can recommend like what type of stuff did you use MYOB? Did you use it? If you could kind of break down some.
One advice, get a professional to do things like, I love black people, but we don't like paying money.
I mean,
we want to be the accountant. I don't do that.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't do that. I have an accountant.
Yeah, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses.
That's it. Like I don't want to be sitting in zero, balancing Excel shit. Like, I don't have time. When I'm in my downtime, I want to chill.
You want to chill, okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
So just get a professional and pay them the money.
And pay them.
Because they will do the job. My accountant's the same guy I've worked with. He was here the other day having dinner. He literally just came to like hang out with me. And I trust him with everything because he's a professional. That's what he does. So I had an accountant when I was doing a pop-up. Just to wrap your head around it. When I was literally maybe doing like 5,000 a week. I still had an accountant to run through everything. And he helped me as well. I came from Dubai where it's tax-free.
Oh, wow.
Now I got to deal with this whole taxing and GST.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to keep all the money. He's like, nah, 10% of that goes to the government. I'm like, for what? What did they do? Were they in the kitchen sweating? He's like, well, that's how it works. That's GST. Wow, you know what I mean? Business activity statement every 3 months.
The badge.
You got to prepare a badge. Like, maybe you can do it. Maybe you're really a genius. I'm not. I know my strength.
Yeah, you know your strengths and weaknesses.
That's right. I have a lawyer as well that looks over every single agreement. Even when I was doing pop-ups and it was just like, sign here so you can bring your food truck, I sent it to a lawyer. Like, can I sign this? Is it all right? Liabilities, insurance. I had an insurance broker. Like, I think if you get professional people, it keeps you peace of mind as well.
I love what
like, I never worry about the ATO calling me. I'm like, nah, call my accountant. And you know, and I feel like I'm safe and protected that way.
Yeah, man, I love what you just said. What you just said is something that we need to practice in our community a lot, because we need to be able to accept that we're not good at everything, you know, and that's something that we struggle with a lot. Like, we have to keep it real. Our community, we feel like, you know, we can do everything, but we can't do everything. And that's almost like where you fail, you know, because
100%.
It's like, you know, like you said, have an accountant, have a lawyer, have all these people and pay them the right money, because at the end of the day, that's going to be the difference between having a proper business and not having...
It will set you up for success.
Yeah, no.
Because you would have the best people in your team. And people will take you more serious. When people send me anything, I just pass my lawyer's details to them.
Beautiful.
And they know, okay, he's got a law firm in the city looking over his contract. We're not going to try to do anything dodgy over here. So it gives you peace of mind.
So just quickly, so just going back to one more thing, and then we can move forward about the future. And we can slowly start to, you know, end this podcast. But what I wanted to say to you is that the COVID. So how did you survive COVID? Because you mentioned it, and you know, I just start a restaurant during COVID, during that time, especially the way the world was, how it came at an automatic stop. Yeah. How did you survive that, man? Like,
the community really stepped in for COVID. Out of a friend of mine, Yvette, she literally sent me money. I still remember. She's like, I just paid. I was like, whoa, why? She's like, I don't know what you're gonna use it for. I'm just sending you money because I know what you guys must be going through now. And that was the mood of the entire community. Like, everyone was trying to help in some way. Like, they would order food. We delivered food to Penrith one time. Wow. Can you imagine?
Yeah, from here to Penrith.
And so I was like, I'm going to pay the delivery. Just bring it. I know they can cook it at home. They got a kitchen. But I think the whole idea was we're going to try to keep this business open. So that is how we got through. Back then, it was just, you guys just open. We've wanted this for so long. There's no way we're going to let you guys go down.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fair.
That's
beautiful. Fair fight.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, that will forever be massive appreciation. And I think for me, that was how we survived it. It wasn't anything but just the community.
The community trying to step in and keep you afloat.
Every way they could. Ordering food every day. Coming in to help. One of my friends used to help us do deliveries and things like that.
No, awesome. Now that's really good. All right. Well, moving forward. So now, what I wanted to give you massive respect for, and I would love for you just to talk about how you've been able to do this really quickly. Well, not really quickly. I mean, just because I think this is something that has ultimately made Little Lagos so successful is your marketing ability. Because I'm somebody that really focuses heavily a lot on how people present their business, because I feel like it makes a massive difference, right? And especially within the African community, I'm trying to say this respectfully, but a lot of things that are done have not been marketed the way that you've done it. So in terms of like how professional your food looks on Instagram. I've done my research. I looked at the stuff that you've been able to do, how you make it look, how it's presented, which ultimately makes a difference between people looking at your page and being like, I would love to taste that, rather than just having it on some sort of background where, you know, the food is not presented well. So I want to understand the mindset of what created this marketing strategy for you. How did you figure out, okay, I want to present my food like this? Yeah.
Black people are some of the coolest people in the world. We've got swag. We're good looking. We're beautiful. Fashion, music. We lead trends. We set trends. People borrow and steal and exploit our trends all the time. So we have it in us. I think it comes down to just people cutting corners. What we talked about earlier. I don't want to hire an accountant because it's going to cost me $300. I'm not going to hire a photographer because it's going to cost me $400. I'm just going to take the pictures myself and try to edit it. And that's what it comes down to. I think a lot of people just maybe they don't have that money, or they don't think that they want to spend that money on it. But for me, I like nice things, and I like things that is well presented. And the fact of the matter is, when you're presenting anything to the general public, as a Black person, you have to be the best at it. You can't get away with like medium shit. It has to be premium, because you're already going to be perceived as, oh, it's an African restaurant. Yeah, I'm just going to go there and just see this rundown place. So that was why, step by step, all the branding was on point.
Beautiful.
I paid a food photographer, a food stylist. I didn't know they were different things.
Yeah, you didn't even know they existed. Yeah.
Someone who styles it.
Yeah, that styles it. Yeah, photos. Yeah.
What are y'all getting paid on my time? But I saw the difference immediately. Yeah, so it was important to present it in a way that every Australian can look at it and go, like you said, I want to go and try that.
Beautiful.
And there was no compromise on branding and marketing for us. Like, it's everything.
It had to be presented in a way. Yeah.
Otherwise we wouldn't do it.
Beautiful. No, I love that, because and I do recommend, and we're going to put all your socials and everything, you know, towards the end of it. And, you know, and you'll definitely get the praise, because I do want people to go look at the way you've been able to put things together. It's amazing. And I wanted to give you your respect for that. So just moving forward in terms of what we did talk about on the phone, like just, so some of the people that you wanted to, you know, give praise to, because there's, you know, you coming here, there's been many people that have obviously helped you, and you've been able to kind of get to where you're at and be inspired by other people. So I would love for you to just talk about some of the people that have helped you along the way.
It's very important, because a lot of times I feel like I get a lot of credit and people go, are they? And I'm like, but you have to realize that there's been a lot of work that was done before I got here, to the point where this culture, this food, and this whole trend, this vibe that people are now on, there's been people that have been working on this before I even decided to come here. And it's a process, right? Like, I was talking to Adam, sorry, I keep bringing his name, because
please.
But we talked about like originators, you know. Afrobeat started in Ghana from High Life. Fela Kuti went to Ghana, listened to High Life, and it was, what is this? Came back to Lagos, started playing High Life with a twist on it, called it Afrobeat. And in a million years, they would never imagine that the Afrobeats today, you would have Burner selling out stadiums in Norway, in Finland, stadiums. There's no way they would have imagined that, but they did that work. Like, the people who were performing today didn't create that sound. They just continued to build on the sound that was already created. That's the story of Little Lagos. We were building on something that a lot of people have been working on in the background. You got blessed. You've got Sound of Afrobeat. That was the first event I went to in North Sydney. I didn't know the boys. And I remember going, this is cool. Like, there was music, there was food, there was people tapping into the culture. This is 6-7 years ago, maybe. Yeah. Right? And these people have been working. You got B-Wise. He's been putting out music. He was wearing a Nigerian jersey. When I arrived in this country, I saw him on stage performing in a Nigerian jersey. And I'm like, who's that? Is that guy Nigerian? And they're like, yeah, that's Jamie. So imagine back then wearing a Nigerian jersey on stage. This is before the Grammys and all this Afrobeat thing. And these people have been repping the culture. You got Leo, you know, it's been documented. You got Manu, you got Zinzi, you got Fufu and Tibbs. And all of them have kind of like been in the background grinding to the point where we opening up this space, it was easy for people to tap into that culture because they had experienced it in different places already. 100%. And I think that's the importance. And a lot of these people are my friends. I know them personally. And I feel like I don't tell them enough how much I love them, how much I respect them, how much they inspire me. Like every time I see Wise, we hug each other. Like there's some real love there. And I'm like, bro, I love you. And it's like, I know, bro, I love you too. I'm like, nah, bro, like I got love for you because of what you've done.
What they put in, the work that they put in.
They have. There wouldn't be a Promised Land with Davido headlining without Son of Afrobeats.
100%.
That's on God.
That's on God.
Because these are the guys who were playing this music. And people were like, oh, yeah, I can tap into this. And now the music is getting bigger. And same thing with the culture, same with the art space. You got Effie, you know, in the background, working, you know, putting in all these things together. You got Solids, you got Raider Sounds, you got Yemi and Jamal up in Perth. Because again, it's a global movement. When we went to the Promised Land Festival, we had people from Perth telling us they knew about Little Lagos. You know, I know it's Instagram and whatever, but it hits different.
That's so different.
Who lives in Perth tells you I've been dying to have your food, and you're like, oh, okay.
That's beautiful.
So someone did that groundwork, and it's really important for us to acknowledge them. And as we move forward, there's older people also coming, going, you know what, Little Lagos was cool. It was in Newtown, but how about we do something sick in the city? And it's like, I'm going to kind of like continue what Little Lagos has done. It's going to be bigger, and I'm going to have live music and whatever else it is. So we need to keep that journey on.
100%.
For us, for our culture. It's really, really important.
That's beautiful. And look, man, big shout out to all these people. Like you've mentioned, the Wises, there's Sound of Afrobeat, your boy Adam, all these people, right? Because I've literally seen their grind from day one. You know, I remember
we were talking about that.
We were talking about that before. Like I've literally seen the SOA boys from the first event I ever went there. Wise has been doing music forever. All these boys, you know, a massive shout out to them. And eventually, you know, we're all going to touch base, and we're definitely going to put them on this, you know, on this platform and give them the roses that they deserve, because they put in a lot of work, you know, like Wise and all that from the beginning, like from day one, like literally a music artist, started in a group. If you know these guys, their history, Sound of Afrobeats, there were some of them were artists before. So the transition has been sensational, man. So definitely,
I feel like they never compromised as well. I feel like they were very authentic in representing their culture. Like I said, seeing Wise on stage in a Nigerian jersey, God knows how many years ago, you know, that same jersey that he was wearing, the next time they dropped the jersey, Nike did this exclusive thing and it sold out. And this is someone wearing it in Australia, representing, saying, this is my culture, this is who I am, kind of thing.
That's actually facts. So that jersey was actually very beautiful.
It was, and it sold out.
It sold out. So, man, Ade, man, the future of Little Lagos, man. So while we slowly begin to wrap this up, the future, man, talk to me, man. So now we are in the heart of Newtown. Your first restaurant that was ever open. The one that literally, you know, you did during the pandemic. It survived. How many years has Little Lagos been open now?
So this one will be exactly 4 years next month.
Man, brother, all I'm gonna say to you is respect to you. Honestly, I think that, like, you know what, look, I'll give you that towards the end, but let's get into the future of what, like, and then we can slowly start to wrap this up. So Little Lagos, man, what's new for you? I know we talked about the cinemas being in stores.
Yes.
Please tell people what the future of Little Lagos looks like.
The future is getting more people involved in the concept and opening it all over the country. Melbourne is definitely exciting.
Oh, you have
after the last pop-up. I used to be a Melbourne hater. I know. Take everything I ever said back. But yeah, what we're trying to do now is we're trying to, I wouldn't say group funded, but we're looking for people that are invested in the culture and have an emotional attachment to the culture, that want to see this become a normal thing in Australia, where if you go to Tasmania, you can go down to a Little Lagos there while you're there on a work trip. So that's where we're at right now. So we're talking to people. Perth is had a great conversation yesterday with someone in Perth. and we're looking to do something in Perth. And so it would all be almost like collaborations now. So it's like, oh, okay, you're from Melbourne. How about we do one in Melbourne and we own it together and then we co-brand it together.
Beautiful.
So that's I think that's the
future.
Yeah. It's like a co-op.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We want to make it like a co-op where it's like everyone is kind of like has a stake in it in each city.
In each city. That's
and then
beautiful.
we use people from that city to kind of like drive it because that's their city and, you know, they know it better. And they'll be much more, like I said, emotionally invested in it because they want it in their city.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so that's a future. And then in terms of, like you said, the cinemas and all that, you're going to get into like some of the stuff like that. Really?
We're opening a black cinema in this country. Probably in Melbourne. Because
Melbourne, beautiful.
Melbourne seems to be where everyone is moving to now. But yeah, we want a black cinema in this country where we're going to screen movies from Ghana, Nigeria. Do you know the movies coming out of Nigeria? I am seeing them on Prime. I'm seeing them on Netflix.
Netflix, they're big, yeah.
And I'm like, people subscribing to watch Nigerian movies. Nollywood is massive. Ghana, Kenya, South Africa. And you don't get to see anything like that here.
Facts. No, you're absolutely right, man. Look, Ade, man, this has been absolutely amazing. Man, I you know what? I'm inspired by your story. Genuinely, it's not just something that, you know, I don't just put anyone on the podcast. Like, I actually really try and focus on people that I can see that are doing stuff for the community that can also inspire other people, because your story is very inspiring. I've heard about you way before I reached out to you. You know, there was going to be a time I reached out to you, but it was just, you know, I've spoken to Ikemba.
Shout out to Ikemba.
Shout out to Ikemba, you know, like I've worked with him on the summit. You know, he's obviously he's got the financial background, and there's so many people like, you know, Davis, you know, Junior that work with you. So I've heard about your story and it inspired me. And honestly, like, I'm the type of person that wants to look for people that can also inspire me. Like, when I speak to them, I'm trying to have a conversation to understand how your mind works, because that way we can also then pass it on to other people for them to also be inspired. So brother, I just want to say, I want to give you your roses, man, because you've done so well. And I honestly, like, I love it. That's why I came to Melbourne. I saw what you're doing, and I can see that your hustle is different, man. You're not just like,
it's like Niger hustle.
It must be the Niger hustle, man. I think I have to go to Nigeria to see the way people move, and then I'll be like, okay, I understand how Adam moves, man. You know, because your hustle is something else. So, man, praise to you. I just want to say, continue to do what you're doing, man. And honestly, like with the steak stuff, off camera we'll talk about all that stuff. You know, absolutely. My phone's always available, and anyone that wants to be involved, you know, we're gonna put all your details there so people can reach out to you. And honestly, man, I'm so proud of you, and I can't thank you enough for giving me your time today, man.
Thank you. And this platform is important because the first time I saw it, it was because Ikemba wasn't there.
Oh, Ikemba.
Yeah. That's someone I have so much love and respect for. So I immediately tapped in on it. It's like Black World Connect, the name. We need podcast that also talks about business.
Yeah.
It's all cool stuff about culture and stuff, but I think platforms like this are very, very important as well. So I wanted to come on and talk some business stuff. Like, I want to connect to all these rich black people, you know?
You're one of them. You're one of the rich black people. So people are trying to connect with
those
you.
guys look richer. The suits are like tailored. That's like, oh, man, hook me up, bro.
Yeah, beautiful, man. But thank you again, man. And look, man, with the next summit, I know we're gonna talk about business, because I'd love for you to be on there on one of, you know, we're gonna talk anyway outside of this. But man, thank you very much. This is another episode of Black World Connect. I'm checking out your host, Fabrice Omenkoy, and
Ade.
And just give your socials real quick, man. How can people follow you?
Super
How can people
easy.
tap into your food? Like,
super easy.
Please.
Everything is at A Little Lagos. Everything. TikTok, Instagram, website, just A Little Lagos.
Just quickly before we wrap up, A Little Lagos, is there a reason why there's an A? Because I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, it's just because I wanted to have one single account for everything.
Okay. So you put the A just so you can get the get the handle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now everything is just A Little Lagos.
A Little Lagos. Okay.
So it's just easier that
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Man, respect to you. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.